Well, I want to thank you all very much. This is great. These are our friends. We have thousands of friends on this incredible movement. This was a movement like nobody's ever seen before. And frankly, this was, I believe, the greatest political movement of all time. There's never been anything like this in this country and maybe beyond. And now it's going to reach a new level of importance because we're going to help our country heal. We're going to help our country heal. We have a country that needs help, and it needs help very badly. We're going to fix our borders. We're going to fix everything about our country. And we made history for a reason tonight, and the reason is going to be just that. We overcame obstacles that nobody thought possible, and it is now clear that we've achieved the most incredible political thing. Look what happened. Is this crazy? But it's a political victory that our country has never seen before, nothing like this. I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president and your 45th president.
Do you know?
Hey, welcome to the Republic Forum. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Tom.
And we've got a guest today, and you got to do it because I forgot her first name already.
Well, it's Kimberly.
Kimberly.
Do you remember the last name?
DeSonia's.
There you go.
All right.
Register of voters, Republican register of voters in our town, right?
In Wyndham, yes.
Yes. Well, it's our town.
Well, it's
Wyndham,
not my
Willimantic.
town. It might be your town. It's not my town.
No, you're here.
I'm here. I'm in.
You're a guest?
In your
Get
town.
out. What the heck was that introduction?
That's not the first time I've heard that.
I know. What was that introduction? I missed a week and I got to listen to that.
You're going to listen to that for the next 4 years.
Oh, choke me.
And it's going to get better. Well, don't worry. You'll choke yourself, so that's all right. Never mind.
All right, let's get into it.
Get into it.
So one of the questions that I have is that this is new for us this year. I think we actually started it last year, right, for the new early voting?
We started in April for the presidential preference primary.
Okay. So how did it work out in Wyndham?
In Wyndham for the presidential, it was successful. We saw early voting saw 2,972 voters over 14 days. So it was steady. It worked out very well. The Town Hall turned out to be a great location for it. It was very convenient to the Eastern students and very pretty convenient to everybody else. So all in all, our voters were very happy. You had a few here and there that were a little bit concerned about putting their ballot into an envelope and the process, but after we explained to them the counting process here in Wyndham, how there's always a Democrat and Republican, they don't look at the names, all of that, all the voters left happy. So they were, almost 3,000 people, took a lot of people out of the line on election day.
Did that make the lines a lot shorter during the...
Yes, that made a huge difference for the lines on election day.
Yeah, I can say that I went up, my wife and I went and voted early. We were very happy, and we were very secure in how you guys actually did in the envelopes, how checking off and everything else, having to show your ID. We thought that it ran pretty quick. I mean, we're in the line, which was surprising for me that day. But we were in the line with about 10 people, but it went through smoothly.
Well,
all your workers were very, very smiley too, I got to say.
Yeah. No, out in Columbia, it was the same thing. I think we had around 14% of the people come through early. And I voted early, and the process was clean, neat, and easy. And we do it at our town hall.
Most people told me that they liked it that way instead of having to sit in the lines.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think it's such a bad idea. I think 14 days is a bit much. I'd like to see it maybe narrowed down to 5.
Yeah, because
of the cost.
Well, that's the next question. What was the cost for us?
The cost was for this between the two, between August and November, the cost was close to $50,000 probably.
Does the
It was
state
about-
give us any money at all towards this?
They gave us $5,000.
Oh, happy there. There we go. $5,000.
So it didn't really.
Is that what they gave mostly to every town, or depending on what your size was?
It depended on the size, and I believe there was a formula they used. I believe it had something to do with the number of people that show up to vote.
So out
They
of
had some formula.
50,000, it cost us 45.
Yeah, that was between this and
The primary.
yeah,
stuff.
between the
Yep.
ones for this year. So we had budgeted roughly 47,000.
Oh, okay.
And most of it was payroll because we were able to keep the location at the town hall, luckily. So that did cut down on having to rent a truck and move things. It was
Yep.
mostly payroll and feeding the poll workers. But with 10 poll workers a day for 14 days, it's expensive.
Feeding the poll workers.
We're required to feed them. We used to
Wait a
in
minute,
the
they unionized?
we used to in the past feed them breakfast and dinner,
contract.
and then
I had to get that in for you, Jeff.
at some point the council made us start feeding them lunch as well. So
Well, I
we've
think-
been feeding them for.
Now, how many council members came in, ate on the lamb?
Nobody did that.
So roughly, that's between those, the primary and the election cost us about 45,000. Now, when you say budgeted, is that covering all the hours that you guys, the extra hours that you guys put into as registers?
As registrars, no.
Okay.
No, we at this point we have not been paid for our extra hours. We are paid a salary. It's a rather small salary considering the fact that we are department heads and our level of responsibility and liability. We are
Not to say, but it's always been, as far as I'm concerned, going all the way back to the 80s that I can remember, that registers never got paid that a good amount of money. They do put a lot of time in, but it's something that you choose as giving back to the town that when you ran for office, I would say.
Yeah, it's something it's got to be done, and somebody has to do it who's going to do a good job. It's our elections, it's important. But there is a lot of time that goes into it, and we put in but in the 7 weeks from the end of September up until the election week. So not even counting everything we've done since then and that we have to continue to do. We put in roughly 400 hours that we can account for. There's more hours than that here and there, including a 6-hour road trip to New Hampshire because the company that provides the memory cards to make the machines work didn't send them, so we had to go pick them up. Back and forth to nursing homes in town, to hospitals, waiting an hour and a half for a gentleman to get on a dialysis so that he could vote while he's out of the hospital. So we were up over 400 hours, and we are paid
And
based on...
is that the two of you? The Democratic and...
Yes, yes.
Okay, because that's your staff, really,
Yes,
permanently that you have, right?
yes, we do each have a deputy. Their hours are less,
Okay.
but so most everything is done by the two of us.
But I've noticed, I did see the primary, and I noticed this last time in the election, the two of you actually are bringing the voting machines to the places.
Yes, we
You don't hire out.
No, there was a time when Public Works did it for us.
Yep,
but
I remember
they-
that.
We're a little bit more efficient, the two of us. Not that we didn't
So that's
appreciate them,
where I'm
but
going. That's saving us money because you're not doing what other towns do, where they hire a private company to come in and deliver these machines. Then they got to come back and pick them
Correct.
up. You guys are doing.
we
that.
do it ourselves, just the
So
two
you're
of us.
saving our town money on that end. That's not a small amount. That's probably a good sizable amount.
I would imagine so. We haven't looked into it at this point, but I would imagine they're transporting sensitive equipment, so it would have to be, you'd need bonded movers
Yeah.
probably, so.
So at least in this town, we can sit there and say the hands that were on the machine were our registers.
Yes, yes,
We know the chain of custody. in
There
other
you
words.
go.
yes, which is important.
So if
Absolutely.
something went wrong, we knew who to go after.
And nothing
you
went
go.
wrong. Nothing goes wrong in Wyndham.
Oh,
In the registrar's office.
okay.
I'm going to clarify
I mean,
that.
that was a real open
In the,
statement.
we were specifically
Did you
talking
see
about the
those white hairs
registrar's
go
office,
up when you said that?
specifically with our office. We had 69 poll workers that covered 209 positions.
Wow.
Wow.
So it was It was a lot
I
of.
did notice that you had some young kids too working, which I think is great because
Oh,
they
no, you
get to
gotta
see
get
how
'em
the
in.
system
You got to
runs.
bring them in. They're
Yeah.
the future.
Yeah, and they did a great job. Norwich, Wyndham Tech doesn't have school on election day, so we contacted the technical school, and we made up a flyer and they sent it out to their students, and we did get quite a few students and a few from
I think
Norwich
that's
Tech,
excellent
and
because they get to see the process.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, look at that. Take your pill, Jeff.
Yeah, I will. I'll take my pill.
and they did a great job. The students.
Good. So it went fairly well. No hiccups in Wyndham.
No hiccups in Wyndham. Wyndham, it was absolutely awesome. We might have had 2 upset voters all day, and that's it. We usually, everything was smooth. One of the upset voters did post on social media. We contacted him, talked to him, let him tell us why he was upset. We fixed the issue that upset him. And one person was upset because they had a candidate on their shirt. But other than that, our voters were very happy. Everybody left happy and satisfied. And I haven't heard any complaints about
Was
the
that during?
process.
Was that during the early voting, or was it actual election day?
Actual election day.
Okay, because
Yeah.
I've noticed that because I went and hung around some places for the early voting, and people were walking in with.
Yeah, which you're not supposed to,
memorabilia.
right?
Yeah, but I don't know if they carried that on to the early voting or it was just election day.
Nope, early voting counts too.
Okay.
It's got to be, though, a candidate's name or image. They can actually wear a MAGA hat. That's not illegal.
Right.
It's got to be their actual name or their likeness. And they're usually stopped once they get in the door. Some people will turn their sweatshirt inside out, put something over it, put a piece of tape over it. I think most people don't realize it's illegal when
Well,
they walk
I
in.
think you're right at that.
Yeah.
And most people are
Yeah.
happy
No,
to.
I saw
Yeah.
things going by and said,
Right. So where I was going to go with this part of the question was you said Eastern students. So the college kids come in because they're here in Wyndham and they vote. What is the rule on kids that are actually living on campus where they're only here for 6-7 months of the year? What is the rule for them to be able to vote, say, on our senators, our reps?
As long as they physically live in Wyndham, whether it's on campus or in an apartment off of campus, they do have the right to vote here. You can vote. They actually weren't clear about that when they advertised it because there were many students that came in thinking they could vote in their college town and not realizing they had to actually live there. Then we had to turn away. If you live in Columbia, but you go to school at Eastern, you couldn't vote here. If you live on the campus or if you live in a apartment
An
off
apartment.
campus, you are allowed to have a full ballot.
Is that because your mail's coming there and everything else? Is that the way?
Your mail doesn't have to be coming there. You physically reside there. Most students, what they do is they pull up their dorm assignment in the housing portal
Yeah.
and show us that they are assigned to a dorm room.
Is there a way to find out whether or not they voted back in their hometown versus here?
So if they came to early voting and they had already early voted in their hometown, that would have popped up in the system.
Okay, so
there was
okay.
a computer system.
But not the day of the election?
The day of the election, if they had early voted, they should have been taken off. The day of the election is a little difficult. You have to call those towns and ask if they voted. The problem with that is election day is very, very busy, and the chances that you're going to get a response from another town are slim. That being said, after voting is over, we go into the system and we have to enter every voter that they did vote. The first town that enters them isn't going to know anything. The second town that tries to enter them is going to be the one that can see that they've already voted on that day. It's very rare.
so they get
It's very
kicked out.
rare.
And so then what is the rules, say that I'm running for senator?
Mm-hmm.
And can I bus people in from Eastern or give them rides from Eastern? And if and say, hey, I'll give you a ride, you vote for me or whatever, or can I give them free pizza as they're coming down? Is there any rules against that? Because you know why I'm going there, because you got that going on in Mansfield right now. So I'm asking you for like our town if that
I'm not-
happened here.
That didn't happen here,
I know,
as far as I know.
But what happens if I wanted to go up there and say, hey, I got a van, drive you down to whatever polling place so that you can go vote for me, and by the way, here's a free lunch.
So I don't know the exact rules on what as far as busing and giving them free lunch. If you are telling them that you are giving them this if they vote for you and that they
Then
have
that's
to vote for
illegal.
you, that is illegal. If you are giving rides, that's not uncommon. A lot of
But isn't the rides have to be, if anybody calls you up, could be an independent, whatever, you don't ask them who you're voting for at that point. You're just giving them a ride to the polls.
you shouldn't be asking them who they're
Right.
voting for.
So,
Correct.
again, I don't know if that happened
This
in
isn't
Mansfield or not. But to me, it's, I know here when I was on the Democratic Party, we would go I gave rides, but it wasn't, I never asked anybody how you're voting or anything. They called up for a ride. You assume they were probably voting Democrat, but they asked you for a ride. You picked them up, you brought them to the polling place. That was it.
Right.
We didn't talk politics in the car at all. And that's where we were. That to me is the legal way of doing it.
Correct.
I know that there's questions. We have the Senator May Flexer and the person that ran
Chris
against
Reddy.
her, Chris Reddy. I know he's filed a complaint. And it was not against Wyndham, it's against Mansfield. I also understood that Brooklyn had a little thing over there with some votes, but Mansfield, it was more of the college students. Do you know what the complaint is about the food end of it?
The food end of it, I'm not positive. I was told that they were serving the food within 75 feet of the front door, that they were within
Which
the
is, that's
70.
illegal, as far as I know. You're not supposed to
as-
political.
No
Yeah.
campaigning.
As-
No campaigning.
As far as I know, yes.
If
I
that
have heard
happened.
from other people that it depended on who was serving the food and if it was only being offered to people of a certain party or if you voted a certain way. And I don't know.
I always thought the 70-foot rule was there's no campaigning, and once you vote, you have to leave that area.
Yes.
You can't. I mean, when I ran for office, you couldn't get in that area.
There's certain things can
Any of
happen.
your workers couldn't get in that area.
Certain things can happen in that area with permission from the registrars. Girl Scouts can sell cookies in that area with permission
Okay.
from the registrars. There are certain things that are allowed to happen. I've heard back. I haven't looked up the law on the food because we didn't have the issue in Wyndham.
There's a lot of people in Wyndham talking about it.
Yes.
That's why I'm asking you, because we're not, so far, I'm not hearing too much out of the media. I guess it's there. The complaint's in. Everybody's heard that it's got something to do with giving rides, which to me is not illegal. You can go give rides.
It's not illegal to give rides.
I have my own opinion about college students and how much right they should have in voting on certain things, but they feeding somebody coming in for a vote, I think outside the 75-foot line, you could possibly do that because people are coming over by themselves. But if you're in that 75-foot line, that shouldn't be happening for any candidate.
That
Oh, no, I
shouldn't
agree
be
with you.
happening. I just don't know the letter of the law on that. I know there's multiple complaints for Mansfield. That's one of them. There is a complaint about the food. There's a complaint about the busing in. There are complaints about Mansfield's willingness to give information to. There are some members of the Chris Reddy campaign that have still not been able to look at documents. And it's bizarre to me. I don't understand it. In Wyndham, you can come in at any point and ask for documents. We were there until after 2 a.m. to make sure that all of our numbers were in, all of our hand counts, everything in Wyndham was completely in that state system by a little after 2 in the morning. There were people waiting for results. We printed multiple copies. We went out and handed it to them. We gave them snacks and water while they waited. So that was Tuesday. Wednesday, we had to go pick up our equipment and whatnot. By Thursday at about 5, 6 o'clock, so less than 48 hours after the polls closed, Wyndham was completely balanced out. Every one of our books, every one of our lists, our early voters, our absentee voters, our same-day registrations, every list from the polls, every list from early, everything balanced completely. Anybody could have walked in at 6 o'clock Thursday, within 48 hours of the end of the election, to our office and seen anything they wanted to see. It's all in a bin. We would have pulled it out. By all means, looked through it. But we take great pride in this office in Wyndham, and we want the voters confident in the election. We don't want anybody leaving, talking among themselves. Wyndham did something wrong, so we are completely open.
I've always, since I've been 18 years old, but Wyndham's Register of Voters offices have always been pretty upkeep, and we've
Yeah.
always gotten our stuff done. And if there's been any question, I don't think we've ever had a real big problem.
Right.
My question would be, maybe you don't know this, how about when we're voting on our budgets? Are the kids from the colleges allowed to come in because they're living at the college? I get the person that's renting out. I still don't like it, but I get it that they're renting because most of them rent for a year. Okay, where you're at the college, you're only living there from, say, the end of August to sometime in December, because then you go back home, and then you come back in January, and you're gone by
June.
end of April, beginning of May. Okay, so
they are allowed to vote on our budgets
That-
and
that's nuts.
on our questions, which is they don't generally turn out to vote on the budgets.
but even if it's one person,
Yeah.
budgets can pass. We've seen it before by 10.
Yeah.
Okay, so you take a campus like UConn, which Eastern's nothing like that.
Right.
You take a campus like UConn, and anybody can go up there and try to get those kids to come and vote on their budgets. Not just the biggest question for me is, and I wish the state would do, if you're going to college and you're going to live on campus, that's not your home.
No.
Right.
That's not a permanent home, it's a temporary home. Now, you can make the argument if I'm off campus and I'm paying for an apartment for a whole year because I'm staying there, whether they go home or not, at least that you can make there. On campus, it's temporary. It's not your home.
No.
And I do not believe, I believe they have a right, if they live in our state, that they should have a right to vote on their senators from their home districts.
Well, they can write it their.
Okay, not our district.
They can vote on their budgets where you live.
I think it's also
Yeah.
it would be nice if they would have a presidential ballot that those students could vote on. I think the problem is that first of all, as a registrar, any student who calls, I'm going to give them all the information, do anything I can to help them vote on that ballot, regardless of how I feel about them voting on that ballot. But my personal opinion, I think it would be nice if we had a presidential ballot to give them, because if they couldn't make it home, so that they can still vote on that office. But number one,
I always thought that if you're in the state
yeah.
and you're living here and you were born here, whatever, your
Right.
family's here in the town, you could vote for the presidential governor's race. What my thing is that maybe they should fix something at these colleges so where these kids live, they can go and vote for their state senators.
And you know
stuff.
what?
We gotta take a break.
We're going to fix it as soon as we get back.
We got more to come,
We'll be
so
right
come
back.
on back.
Welcome back to the Republic Forum, where your vote counts.
It does
I'm
count.
Jeff.
It does count. It
Yeah, I
counted
know it.
4 years ago and it counts now.
Yes, it does.
The election wasn't stolen 4 years ago.
Oh,
and it
you're
wasn't stolen
such
now.
you're full of it. You're full of it.
I
You
love you
stole
guys.
it.
I love you guys. You know, you win, you're happy. Congratulations. Getting back to this.
Go
Go ahead.
No, I'll let you go.
I want to end this part with the college kids. I just wish our state reps and senators in Connecticut, temporary homes. No, you vote in your town. For your state reps, your senators, whatever. You vote there. Make a ballot or something at the colleges level, especially a UConn campus. Okay, where they can go somewhere and say, I'm from this town, and there's a ballot. Early voting, it could get shipped back to their town in enough time. Do something. They should not be able to vote on budgets. And because they don't have, and I don't care what anybody says, they don't really have a stake in the town of Mansfield. They don't have a stake in Wyndham Willimantic, only for that short period of time.
Correct.
And
Okay.
they can do absentee ballots from their hometown, but nobody is encouraging that. And it's a disservice to the people of Wyndham and Mansfield, but it's a disservice to the college student as well, because what should be happening is they should be explaining to them, you're intending to return home. If you're from Waterbury and you're going to school here and you plan to go back to Waterbury and build your life there, you're going to want to say in the Waterbury representatives. If there could be questions on the Waterbury ballot, or there could be questions on the Norwich ballot that are going to affect your future if you intend to make that your home.
When
and
my
you should
daughter
vote
was in
your
college
hometown.
and she lived out there, okay, she still was registered here. She came back home and voted here. She didn't vote in Massachusetts.
Right.
And it's probably because her father wouldn't let her do that, because I don't believe in that.
Yeah,
Okay?
You probably had her voting it 3-4 times. What
Could
are you
I?
talking
Well,
about?
you know me.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, but there's a stakeholder, and it's not fair to me as a stakeholder in Wyndham,
Right.
just like it would be in Mansfield or Columbia,
Yeah.
okay, to have the college students come in and look. 500, 200, 300, even in this town would make a difference, right? And as somebody running,
yep.
if you ran for a state rep or you ran for a mayor or if you ran for a senator, I would want to be voted on by my constituents. They're really not your constituents. To be proud that you won an election based on the fact that kids that really don't have a stake here, I don't know what to say to you. I mean, it's just not right, and it's been legal. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt about it. I'm not saying it. It needs to be fixed because it's wrong.
Well,
It does.
It does really affect
And
the real resident.
It's misleading to the students themselves about the importance of voting because they're not voting on something that affects them. They should be voting unless they intend to put their roots down here. They're voting on something that doesn't affect them.
Well,
they should
here's a
concentrate
piece
on
I
what
would say
affects
because
them.
I'll play the devil's advocate on that part. We could get this part. Well, yeah, they do have a stake. Because let's say that May Flexer will vote for more student aid where the other person maybe wouldn't. I'm not saying they would or wouldn't.
Right.
So that's the reason why they got them to go vote for him. But again, I'm going to sit there and say that senator that they're in their hometown has that same position
Right.
or the other person's got that position. So again, the stakeholder is you're not a real person from
Right.
that town.
And they're
you're
missing-
there temporarily.
They're missing their other offices, though. So even if May
No.
Flexer can help them,
No, I just don't want to see them voting on budgets.
and they're
I don't care if they vote for the president, vice president.
Oh, I'm not
or
care with
those
that.
offices.
I just don't think
I'm
they
just-
should be voting on your local offices,
I don't
which
think
is
they
your
should-
state rep and senator too.
I don't think they should do that as well as the budget. The budget, definitely not.
Definitely not.
Definitely not on the budget. Especially if an out of town landowner can't.
I agree 100% there.
We're not
That's-
dead, right? On the radio because somebody told me that we went dead a minute ago.
We were.
Think so?
Nope.
Okay, just
Lights
checking.
aren't going off, so
Okay.
double check though.
But all right. So getting back to what the cost factor is, when you guys took your salary, and I remember when I was on the Board of Finance Town Councils when they set the salaries for you guys. The last time you guys received the raise was when?
They made an adjustment actually back in February to try to account for early voting.
We're back.
The problem is that they made a monthly raise by $700. But this year we had a presidential preference primary, then we had a budget referendum, then we had an August primary, and then we went right into this. So we've been consistently over the 20 hours a week that they, on average, expect from us all year. So that adjustment that they gave us didn't actually cover much. And then they gave us, the registrars get $500 for an event. But we got $300 for an event previously. That was one day. Now they raised it by $200 and they went from 1 day to 15 days. And one
okay.
day to 8 days and 1 day to 5 days, depending on what the early voting situation is.
So did you guys go back into the town council and ask for extra money because of this?
Sounds like an unfunded mandate. You guys are rotten for that crap.
We like mandates. You don't like paying for them.
We did go to the town council on Tuesday, and we
Oh, you
actually
did? Okay.
we submitted a very that we worked hard on a presentation to them that was sent out to them on Thursday, but apparently the town council members didn't read it, so they
wait a
can't-
minute.
Wait, yeah, do you really
Say
think
that
they
again
read
to
their
me.
packets?
So you guys, there was a meeting on Tuesday,
Yes,
and if I just heard you right, you sent out a packet of information to them
Yes.
before Tuesday, and some of them said they didn't have time to read it.
yep.
Which is, I'm going to say
9
this,
pages.
it's not new because I can remember going to a lot of town council, board of selectmen's meetings where I used to get upset because there would be people asking questions and the information's right,
It's right there in
there
the
because they
minutes.
never read their packets. And that
Right.
really burns me because you're elected, do your job. But
Well, that's
okay,
it.
keep going.
We made a 9-page packet. It breaks down the hours. We thought we put everything and then some in there, and some of them were. First of all, the meeting didn't start on time because they didn't have a quorum because enough of their elected members didn't show up on time, so we had to delay the meeting.
And this is the Wyndham Town Council.
This is the Wyndham Town Council.
Okay.
Then some of them just seemed dumbfounded, and some of them asked us questions.
But that's their
I don't get-
that's their normal.
Yeah, I don't I'm not.
position.
I wouldn't be upset that they ask questions because you
the
should
questions
ask
are great.
questions.
The
Yeah.
questions are fantastic, and we answered those questions. We were prepared to answer the questions. I'm not upset that they asked questions. They didn't seem to understand why we were there, even though right on the agenda it said that there was a compensation adjustment. I was told, most of them seemed to blame it on the mayor, that I was told intentionally didn't put it as a possible action, although we
So
felt
what was it on the agenda?
it listed it as a presentation, but it did say that it was a compensation adjustment, which
But if they put it down as presentation, didn't put down for action, then they can't take action.
well, at some point,
But that would be his fault, not.
but they
the
can
rest
make
of
a
the board.
motion to put it back on. And
Yeah,
at
you
some
could.
point, Tony Fantoli did do that.
Okay.
And they all just kind of sit there and twisted and turned and looked at each other, and nobody would second it. And then after the fact, one of them came up and tried to talk to me at the end. I wasn't interested in speaking to him after he sat there and didn't say anything during the meeting. And a couple others, they kind of all blamed each other. Well, if somebody else had seconded it, I would have supported you, but I wasn't going to second it, and they could have seconded
Don't
it.
you
and
just love that part?
It was-
The piece was they could have seconded it, so they could have had a little bit of a conversation back.
Mm-hmm.
And then if they really didn't want to vote on it at the time, they could have just tabled
Right.
it into the next meeting.
Right, you always second
But that's
something
just the
and-
scapegoat
Right.
that they use.
And the problem is, we did submit the information on Thursday, and in my opinion, they should have read it.
Yep.
We started these crazy hours actually long before September. We've been a little nuts all year, but in this packet, we have the hours from the end of September broken down. I mean, there's election day, we went 22 hours straight. We got up at 3 a.m. We were there by about 4, and at 8 o'clock p.m.
So
we
if you
finally
would've come-
had a piece of cold
if
pizza.
you would've come
That's how our
in
day
later-
was.
If you would have come in a couple days late, a couple hours later, didn't show up one day, would you still have a job, or would they be yelling at you because you weren't there to open up the doors for the voters? I'm going back
I might
to the
be in
meeting.
jail. I
This
don't
is-
know what happens
No,
if you don't
that's-
open the doors.
This is what always bothers me with
That's
some
absurd.
of the it's happened in Wyndham too many times where the meeting, let's say 7 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're an elected official now. Yes, work and stuff can be in there, but it happens to too many of them.
It's too.
And I don't like
too-
this
too
part where they
regular.
can sit at home and be on the video. I don't
I
like
don't.
that at all. I understood it for
Oh,
COVID.
you
I
want
don't like
call
it
him back
at all.
to the office and stop all this
No,
virtual-
look, it should be there because the people have a right to see you. I mean, I've seen sometimes where I've been over a friend's house and they have it on TV
Yeah.
and they stop conversation, public comment. Okay, and there's always these excuses from people that, well, if it's that important, they should be down here. Well, I sit there and say all the time, if you're going to be down here, then why do we have video?
Yeah, why
Now,
is there
I
all that?
and I get it. I've got people that are in my own family, and they can speak for themselves with it. I think if you have medical conditions, something like that, I'm and you can't make it there, I get that, and I don't know what the reasons are, but video should only be when you really can't make it down there. Not that you're tired, not this. You should be at the meeting because the people have a right to see you and hear you there.
And to see that you're paying attention. We were at a council meeting where there was only a few of us present back in, I want to say February, March-ish. We were in the town manager's office, and one of the council members was present through the phone call or the video, and he came on at one point and said, they were having the discussion, I want to say it was about the rent control maybe, but he said, I'm working here, somebody let me know when it's time to vote. And I was kind of appalled. So he's a town council member. He's there via video, so he gets a vote, but he's not paying attention clearly. He doesn't want to be part of the discussion. He's not paying attention. He shouldn't be voting then.
Correct.
Why are you voting? The reason you're having a discussion is so you can make an informed vote. We have a town council member who just said, I'm not paying attention. Let me know when I can cast my vote, which means, what's the point of the discussion?
Was he abstain? Did he abstain, I hope?
I believe he voted. That's why I
Yeah.
said, let me know. I believe
Yeah.
he voted, but he shouldn't have even. That's the problem. One of the major problems with the video is you don't know if somebody's paying attention. They could be sitting there on their laptop,
Yeah.
playing a game, but
going
at
back
least they're there.
to you guys, I mean, look, you're elected into a position. You know that it's a salary. I had a salary job. I didn't get any more money,
Yeah.
no matter how many hours I worked over a certain thing. I got comp time out I guess you could, it's some type of a thing, okay? So I can understand why some of the council might not vote to give you the money.
Right.
But at least have the guts to say that to your faces there at the meeting. Okay? If that's what you believe, you say it that way. And I'll be honest with you, I could take that.
Yeah.
Okay? And then they could sit there and say at another meeting, maybe we should up your, whatever you want to call it, the bonus check or whatever.
Right.
You know, time for the next pill. Okay? You know,
I took a lot of pills.
I could see that. But just not to take action when you guys gave it to them the way it was, there should have been a discussion. And every one of these people should have chimed in why, yes, I'm voting in favor of it, or no, I'm not, or right at this point, I don't have enough information.
Correct.
And I respect what you're saying about the salary. My problem is, though, just what the point we were making is, your salary is, your salary still has to equal something. You, even a salaried employee is protected by labor laws.
You shouldn't be making any money less than what the minimum wage is.
Right, and
If you do all the hours, and if
Yeah.
you guys come underneath that, then to me, that's against the rules.
And I don't know that those running your election process from start to finish should be making minimum wage. I don't think that's
Well,
an
I'm not
appropriate-
saying,
yeah,
but
it's,
but if you look at the law, you're not supposed to be making
Right.
anything less than,
Less.
right?
but we're not protected by the law because we're elected, and the problem is we're very different from elected. The town council is elected. They can show up, they can not
Because
show
you're
up, they
doing your,
can be on the
according
Zoom.
to a lot of people, you guys are elected, you're doing your civic duty, and sometimes that's part of what you get wins
Right.
and losses on it.
But the amount
I
of
guess
time,
is what some of them would say.
Yeah.
the amount of time put in at this point, like Tom DeVivo did stand in my office last Thursday and say, so what? You don't like it? Don't do it. Okay, but somebody else has to do it, and then they're going to come in the same situation. And the problem is that when you are to the point of working, during those 7 weeks, we were about 256 hours above what we were being paid for. That's a big difference. When you're being paid for 20 hours a week and now you're putting in an 84-hour week and you're putting in 22 hours straight in a 24-hour period with no break, no stopping, that shifts a little bit. Most salaried employees, those kind of demands are not on them. And if they are, they're making more than $30,000 a year. And I think that they're missing.
Which I believe DeVivo does.
Yeah, I think that they're missing those important facts. Like, yes, it's a salary. Yes, you don't get overtime necessarily, but at $30,000 a year is a salary that's down under the poverty level. I don't know if you could really factor that into like a partner in a law firm salary.
It's the first year.
Yeah.
I would hope the board would look at what your salaries are, because if we're going to have to do this, I mean, we're at least every other year doing this. Do you have to do this for like the mayor's positions, open up early voting too?
Yes, right now early voting is 14 days in November.
So it doesn't
every
matter
single
if
November.
it's,
Yeah,
it's
so-
local, state, or presidential. It's the same rule all the way around.
Not referendums, but everything else.
Right, but
So you're going to have a lot more hours in no matter what, almost every year.
that's something that people in Hartford, when they make these decisions, don't realize what's going on to everybody that's involved.
I like the early voting, but I'm with you.
Yeah,
It's 14 days. It probably
No,
should be
it
cut in half.
Yeah, well, at least half. 5 days, 3
Well,
days.
okay, 7. So if you cut it, at least 7 days is half the amount of what it's costing
Right.
you. It's not, and it's not the state. It's not costing it's costing the taxpayers. of
Well,
each town.
absolutely, and that's why the people up there at the state make these rules, because it doesn't,
Right.
they just push
So
the
every
burden to the
bit of
towns.
money that we're putting in, that's 40-something thousand that we're putting in.
The
Now,
taxpayers are
if you're
footing.
on the side of that you don't think education's getting enough, I know you're going to say something, but I'm just saying, if you're on that side about it, that's 47,000 we could have used over somewhere else. Right now, the Board of Education, my understanding, is in a deficit. So that's 47,000 that they would have had.
How can you
to
be
go
in a
over there.
deficit? You
Well,
get a budget and that's
again,
it.
I'm hearing that they're coming to the Board of Finance asking for some money because they're
No,
somewhere in the hole.
no.
But I'm using
Figure
that
it out.
$47,000, so you cut it in half. There's more money that you have for something else. It's the taxpayer that's getting hurt.
Oh, absolutely. Well, they don't care about the taxpayer. That's obvious.
And in an effort to push the college voting, the mayor and May Flexer and a couple other group of people tried to go behind the registrar's back and create a second location so that they could get more college students to vote. The college is less than half a mile
The reason
from
why
the-
you do that is because you know that the residents in your towns aren't voting for you.
Yep.
So that's the reason why you go do that.
And that would have cost the taxpayers probably
So-
another
Okay, who you are.
$30,000.
There's only one
So
reason
we
you
can
can-
we can call him Slick Tommy now,
you know,
kind of like Slick Willie.
I,
And it would have cost the taxpayers, I mean, you're talking double what it costs now if you have two locations, and the locations aren't even a half a mile apart. The college dormitory touches the town property, the town hall's property. It's right there.
Yeah.
And they wanted a second location right here. There's 4,400 people out in the Wyndhams that have to drive into Willimantic for early voting, and they wanted to put two locations a half a mile apart, which would have doubled the money, because you have to have the same staff at each one of them.
Wow.
It would have doubled the money.
Yep.
It would have made more work for our office, and it would have been insane. And there's complaints about the money and the complaints about finding the money to pay the registrars, but they were willing to find the money to I don't want to say buying votes, but basically they were willing to pay the money in order to increase the votes. One of the college students actually said during the town council meeting, we have to do this because we have to keep May Flexer's Senate seat. They weren't even shy about using that for a reason, and then tried to privately fund a voting location, which I can't even imagine what would have happened with that. You start privately funding voting locations, everybody who wants one in their backyard will say, oh, I'll just hire my own staff to run it.
like I said, if you can't win, in your backyard, okay, you got an issue.
Yeah,
and
we
if
are.
you really have to run to college students who have no stake in the area that you're running in, it only means one thing.
Yeah.
Okay?
You're not
And I
qualified.
think if you talk to most voters that are not in a Republican Party, Democratic Party, I'm talking about the ones that are running the parties.
Yep.
Most voters out there will tell you that they're not in favor of that.
Right.
I mean, going around the golf course and other, when people are talking about this issue from around here, they do not believe in that at all.
Right.
Right.
Okay? So maybe that's hopefully Democratic parties that are in towns around here understand that. It's just not right.
Right.
Okay?
It's not fair to the taxpayers.
And again, it's not saying anything against May Flexer. If the people want her, they're going to vote for her. Okay? Versus whoever it is.
Yeah, she didn't carry any of her towns out there.
Sue didn't need UConn
No.
to win out here in her elections. Okay? And there wasn't that many. I think, like you said, Eastern really doesn't come down and vote heavy. Okay? So I've never seen the Eastern vote with that would play into anything that would have Sue winning because of them. People voted for her.
Right.
Okay? When you're talking 500, 800 votes coming out of one campus and that's what tilts the election, there's a problem.
Yes.
Right.
There's a problem.
But we know that. But continue on. I think we've exhausted that pretty much about having college students vote.
I don't think it's exhausted because I think you got to keep pushing it because it's going to keep going on.
Well,
because the machine,
as long as
machine, I don't care what party you're from. If you've got a machine that's running something and it works for them, they're not going to let go of it.
Oh no,
They're not gonna let go
but
of it.
It does. It's not right, and I think that's what one of the things that the people spoke up on the presidential election this year about. We want what's right. We want to get back to a better value system.
I just never understood. I mean, Brooklyn was the other one. I'm not sure what happened either. What was that? Again, everybody's box of votes. For some reason, weren't in the system.
That wasn't.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to fit. Brooklyn, there was a set of amount of votes.
Not this time.
No, it was this time too. Brooklyn and Mansfield had an issue of not getting all their numbers in because there was votes that didn't get into the system for some reason.
Brooklyn, what I was told, had a problem with their system. There was something happening with the system and everything wasn't registering, I believe. It's something the numbers changed when they submit it, is what I was told.
Okay.
There was something about a box of 90 ballots or something, but I want to say that was a farther out town. It was a town in Connecticut, but it wasn't Brooklyn.
Okay.
It was.
A different time.
In
Yes.
Mansfield, what was the reasoning for the vote tally being so late? Because it was a whole nother day, right?
Mansfield won't even answer questions to some of Chris Reddy's campaign has been trying to figure that out. Mansfield is behaving very bizarrely. They won't answer questions. I thought it was
At
a
least the ones
misunderstanding.
down south, when 4 years ago were answering questions about what was going on.
Chris Reddy's campaign was trying to get a number of same-day registrations. They didn't answer them. They've been trying to get information, I believe, since the 8th. They tried to get information on Election Day and the day after. The day after, I thought maybe it was a misunderstanding because it was bizarre to me that they wouldn't provide this information. How many people you registered on Election Day is like a 3 seconds to run the report. So I went out there. I told the woman I would meet her out there, and I went out just as a Republican in the district and just said, "Hi, how are you? Is there any way we could see the tapes?" They got very defensive. They yelled at me. They screamed at me. They told me to leave. This wasn't my town. I had no right to be there. And they wouldn't provide anything. We told them, as soon as they got upset, we'll go wait outside till you're done putting whatever you're doing. We're talking 8 o'clock at night, I believe, the day after the election. They were still putting things into the system. I have seen some of their tapes since then. It looks like their last ballots were put in around 3 o'clock. So I don't know why at 8 o'clock they still didn't have numbers. It's very, very strange. And the numbers that are on the state system don't seem to match up to the numbers on their tapes. Their tape says they put 409 absentee ballots through the machine. The number on the state system said they received like 360 something absentee ballots. So that doesn't even, but they won't provide the Chris Reddy campaign. They've done FOI requests. They're not providing them. They said they'll kind of get to it. We'll get back to you if you don't hear from us in a month. Call us again. It's, I don't know what's happening in Mansfield.
Yeah, we've been how many weeks now? A couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks outside the election?
Yep,
Yeah.
2 weeks.
There's no reason, to me, in my mind, Mansfield's not a big town.
No.
Okay? There's no reason why not to have an answer by now.
Well,
So-
shouldn't Chris Reddy's campaign
Hopefully
actually file
shows like
lawsuits
this will
against
push the issue.
registrar?
Well, I believe they have filed with SEEK, that they have filed, they're not accepting the results at this point. And they are waiting, they're taking the steps with the FOI requests. But there's no reason, like you said, that Mansfield shouldn't, I don't know why they're just not providing it.
Well,
Like,
I would say because,
We-
I just want to say, because I think we got about 30 seconds left.
Yep, 10
All right,
seconds.
just to sit there and say, because of this show, May Flexer showed up on time on Veterans Day for the,
She did.
all this stuff. And I think
I-
it's because of this show,
yeah,
not
you-
because of
you-
anybody else.
you-
I think it's because we
you
hit her on the
definitely-
show
You
for not
definitely
being
did
there.
rag on her that day about that. But anyway.
thank you for
hey,
showing up on time.
Absolutely. Nice having you here. Till next week, good night and God bless.